What's good, guys? Welcome back to another video. Really hope you watched the video from yesterday and you managed to take the trade, because Bitcoin ended up playing out like an absolute banger. Got a really solid banger on gold as well, and a really good trade on oil once the New York session started. Nasdaq unfortunately didn't end up playing out, which is perfectly fine. But hey, Bitcoin 2 days in a row, yeah, we call it and it happens. And this is just the power of having a prudent system in place. Like, to the regular viewers of this channel, you guys have seen it happen time and time again. But to anyone new, welcome. My name is Shwen. I have been publicly documenting my trades over the last year or so, and I have about a 78% win rate when it comes to these calls. So if you're new here, just understand that, you're in the right place, because I tend to be right a little bit more often than I'm wrong. But otherwise, in this video, I'm going to break down the best trade setups for today. And if you'd like my help to install this exact system that I'm using within the next 90 days, and let this be the last system that you ever use, because after this one, you're going to get profitable, feel free to click the first link in the description box below. But otherwise, let's get into the video. Now, kicking things off with Bitcoin first, and then I'm going to share a setup on oil, because I think that's probably the higher probability one compared to Bitcoin here. So just kicking things off on Bitcoin, obviously you are dealing with a bearish daily bias over here. And like this week so far has just been playing out exactly like what we talked about on Monday as well, in terms of the weekly bias. Like, yes, we have a bullish weekly bias, but the fact that we came into some sort of a higher time frame fair value gap means that we're more likely to expand towards the downside instead during, like, at least throughout the week. This is exactly what's happening right now. And from yesterday, I really hope you guys took my advice of not going in too soon. And like literally like 1 hour after I recorded a video, like you sweep the highs, you fill it in this order block over here, and then you get that hourly CISD. And once you get the hourly CISD at exactly the right timing, you get just a breakdown, order blocks and whatever, and you're just, heading towards the downside. Now, what about the setup for today then in this case? Well, today we are looking at a bearish daily bias, just to kind of remind myself of what is going on over there. And in terms of the 1 hourly chart, technically you are already in bearish order flow. So what I would personally look for is, like, one of the reasons why I'm not going to be just super certain about jumping into a trade right here, right now, is the fact that you have swept out the lows, right? This target that I drew out yesterday was swept out. And right now, clearly, you're going through a bit of a consolidation. Now, this is a strong high, which means that technically we are not going to be expecting price to revisit this high. But if it does, right, we have to just kind of like mark out what are some potential kind of like reasons that price would go up compared to down. Well, over here you have the original kind of like consolidation, the original order block that, before this entire dump happened. So in the event that price returns back to here, like, we'd definitely be interested for a short. Now, is it going to happen today? Probably not, because you're quite a ways away from it. But right now, you're still consolidating below the range lows, which tells me a couple of things, right? One is that the fact that you're consolidating means that there is a chance that you can go for a range breakdown and then, just continuation. Because usually when you are dealing with any sort of trading range, like for example, high, there's the high, that's the low. Usually if you're going to go for a range deviation, something like this happens pretty cleanly and pretty quickly. You're not going to just chop around over here, right? That's not how range trading works. Range trading is like you sweep the highs and then immediately you start breaking lower. You go to the opposite side of the range. So the fact that you are kind of consolidating here leads me to believe that, there is a chance that you could get that CISD and then you're just breaking down towards the downside. Here's the problem though. You have gotten the CISD over here. Like with crypto, it's hard to say because, on Binance it could be, and then you look at the spot chart and then you look at the Bybit chart or whatever, and they could all be different. In fact, let me just take a look at them to see if this is the case. So on Binance spot, you are good. Let's take a look at Bybit. Okay, yeah. So for the most part, I think your big boys, your main players have already confirmed that CISD, that's Coinbase, and so yeah, it seems like most of the charts are confirming that CISD. So you're already technically good to go right here, right now. So right now, the price is coming back into this fair value gap. Obviously, you don't want to see price close above this fair value gap, because if it does, probably the setup for today is just going to be kind of invalidated. Here's what I mean, right? Here you have a strong high. By the time you reach this strong high, chances are you're going to form some sort of a bullish CISD. And if we're looking for a short today, we don't want to see the hourly turn, bullish basically. And the fact that we are in a range right now, like just consolidating before the next move, leads me to believe that today could just end up being a no trade day, where, but only if this happens, of course, because if this happens, again, daily bias, we're looking very short, but we don't want to be shorting into a pumping hourly chart, basically. So on Bitcoin, probably like that's my take. Now, in the event that you start breaking lower, like, don't get me wrong, you're already good enough to just jump into the charts right now. But over here would definitely be kind of like the best one, right? 75,400. If you get another CISD, or just a candle close below the 1 hourly chart on this level, then that like that makes your trade setup that much higher probability. So that's what I would wait for personally. Here's where, kind of Forex comes into play, right? Because while we're waiting for, even if Bitcoin ends up being a no trade, it's like completely fine because we have other opportunities to look at anyways. But that would be my take on Bitcoin. And let me just take a look real quick. And yeah. Okay, so basically in terms of the 5-minute chart, again, it's kind of like the same theory over here. You have this order block. Obviously, if you are bearish, you don't want to see price go above this order block. Like you've actually already kind of like started filling this order block earlier. So all you need to do is for price to continue breaking lower. The moment you do, and as long as you continue breaking lower from this point onwards, this entire point here, you can already take advantage of it because again, the order flow on the 1-hour chart is already bearish. So nothing super complicated there. We're just going to be looking for a short, but just keep in mind that there is a possibility that this short idea could just get completely validated. Like obviously I will be, posting any updates on my Twitter. So feel free to follow me there. Although we do have a blueprint live trading call today. So there's a chance that I may not be able to be as responsive on Twitter as usual because, well, I'm going to be in a Zoom call basically live trading the blueprint students. It was the same case yesterday as well, where, yesterday was a bootcamp live trading call. But anyways, just getting into this oil, you have, again, this is probably, in my opinion, the moneymaker of the day. Until we get to validate it, of course. So you have a bullish daily bias right now on the hourly chart. You are coming back into this order block right now. Obviously, as long as you do not close below this level on the 1-hour chart, or even below like $106.50, as long as you don't get a candle close below this one, you're just going to be looking for a long. Now, at exactly what time you're going to be looking for a long, well, that is the other question that we have to answer. So today is Thursday, and we have news on the USD at 8:30 a.m. So the ideal trading window for today, Bitcoin or any other chart, is going to be between the hours of 6:30 a.m. all the way up to 8:30, because that's, the hour before news to the hour after news. Keep in mind though, you have GBP news, you have Euro news, you have Canadian news. So we're just going to take a quick peek at those. But just keep in mind for oil, like this should be a pretty straightforward setup, like nothing crazy. You're already in the order block. So all you need is some sort of a CISD on the 5-minute chart. Once that happens, you're already good to go towards the long direction. Now, in terms of Euro, I actually tried to take a trade on this earlier, but like it ended up being a loss. But anyways, that is a, you have a bearish daily bias. Ultimately, price did end up coming back into this PD array, which is, which would have been the trigger for me to jump into a trade on Euro. Like that's perfectly fine. I was already in like 2 or 3 trades yesterday, so it's not like I'm hungry for more. But anyways, so far you have tapped into this PD array over here on the 1-hourly chart, and within the next 5 minutes, right, as long as you don't get a CISD towards the upside, I think you're going to be pretty good. Like you're going to look pretty good to just basically dump like really hard, because prior to filling in that order block, you have a couple of relatively equal highs over here. You've just swept out the highs. And in terms of the 5-minute chart, let's take a look real quick. And yeah, you've already confirmed the CISD. Actually, when price returns back to here, I could already take a trade, kabang, bang, kabang. And like, yeah, Euro is just going to be probably very decent considering you have news at 8:15. So Euro, same thing here. You're going to be looking for a trade the hour before to the hour after news. Then we'll also look at GBP because GBP is going to have news as well. And so far, right off the get-go, I can see that you've gotten a bearish CISD. Again, same exact setup with Euro here, where you're pumping to fill in some sort of order block. And in the meantime, you have swept out high. So all you need is for this to end up being a sweep rather than a CISD, bullish CISD on the hourly chart, and you're going to be all good. And lastly, we're going to take a look at USD Canadian. Now, USD Canadian, you have a bullish daily bias. Now, in terms of the overall kind of direction, you are looking bearish. We'll keep that in mind. So just because we have a bullish bias, we're coming back into this order block right here. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because immediately off the get-go, I can see that there's a very strong high over here. And have you swept out the lows? Let me see. Yeah, potentially. Let's see what's the low of this candle is. 1.36643, 1.36640. So yeah, low hasn't been swept yet. And right now, this kind of looks a bit like a heads and shoulders kind of formation. So I don't know, like maybe USD Canadian, we could make the argument that it's going to go towards the short side. We could obviously also make the argument that it's going towards the long side. But one thing's for sure, for a long, I would really love to see price actually trade above this level right here. Without that, could be a little bit sketchy. But yeah, overall, I think I'm going to be focusing personally on oil as long as it doesn't get invalidated, and Euro USD, and maybe I'll be posting some updates on USD Canadian later, but Bitcoin as well. But guys, those are going to be the setup for today. See you guys on Twitter later. Ciao, ciao.